I haven't rehearsed anything or figured out what to say, but I've just finished the very first ARC. Oh, Trini. Oh, dear. You want to come up here? Come on. Come over here. Come on. Let's start over. All right. There we go. All right. So I just finished what I believe is the very first ARC mixed media artwork. At least the way that I have approached it. ARC stands for acrylic, resin, and ceramic, all in one artwork. And it is also pictorial. As far as I can tell, by Googling and searching on Bing and trying different search terms, I cannot find a single instance that an artist has made a background acrylic, then contributed further color with epoxy resin. Now we do have that, but I haven't found any with hand-built, artist-fired ceramic medallions representative of animals and flowers. It could be the reason why I don't find other artists to compare my work to. Maybe they're a little smarter than I was. This turned out to be an extremely time-intensive project, frustrating in many ways, and fraught with peril. It's a 15 by 30 inch canvas, about the best kind that you could get there at Michael's, and it's heavy, sturdy canvas, and I airbrushed lily pads and rings of water. It's supposed to be like concentric rings. Some come from the top, some come directly from the side, and then from the lower corner. They go in it diagonally. So those were airbrushed on in different colors, and then, you know, the resin, I picked colors that were not the same, try to get more variation, like water when the sun is going down, you know, dusk and so on, twilight. I'm experienced in working with epoxy resin, but I do find it very frustrating. It's a difficult medium, in my opinion. Usually my problem has been trying to get a perfectly smooth glass finish, because I was making abstract acrylic pour trays and coating them with the epoxy resin, and I wanted it to be really glass smooth. Well, in the last few months, the more I have been using a gloss finish, you know, I've been using golden gloss UV protectant. You know, this is not the actual title. I just trying to put it together on the fly. Anyway, and this, you know, honestly, this piece turned out just glossy, beautiful, gorgeous. Probably the most perfect surface I've ever poured. That was not the first time, though. The first pour had a breach, and it all ran out lopsided, ran out onto the table, you know, and oh my God, it was a terrible mess. And then I had to pour another one to even it out. But in each one, I added color that contributed to the design. So it wasn't just, you know, I had already planned to do 2 pours, but I didn't plan them to be lopsided. At any rate, by the time all that was done, the little ceramic medallions were placed on their lily pad. Anyway, so it was looking pretty sweet, but I just didn't like the glary, shiny surface. It's like, it was pretty, but even standing right in front of it, you couldn't ever really see the whole work. You could only see whatever wasn't reflecting right then. Just really, I've been frustrated on some other works that I've done too. The glossy work great outside for the murals, you know, because you're far enough away, and then plus the front one is curved, so you don't have that issue. But on a flat artwork on the wall, I'm pretty fed up with that glossy crap. And because this is resin, and I'm trying to put it in my first chance to hang in a show, number one, I wanted to make sure I put the UV coating on it. But I didn't really want brush strokes because, of course, this was airbrush. There was no brush strokes before. It's sitting right there. That's why I keep looking at it, try to remind myself. But I didn't want to add brush strokes. It's airbrush. And so I bought the golden spray UV protectant matte finish. And also I had a little extra one, like a little sample one that I really screwed up. Prevented me from messing this up. Anyway, I sprayed that matte stuff, and I just didn't, it was almost like a pebble finish. I didn't think it was transparent enough, and I wasn't confident in it, and I was not happy. And so then, because I had to get the UV protectant on the actual work, I didn't spray it that time because I didn't like it on the small one. So I had already gloss golden UV protectant varnish. And so I put that on. And of course, it's just like blindingly glaring and stuff. And then I thought, well, okay, now I've got the UV on there. I can get Minwax matte polyacrylic which is not UV protectant, and I'll try putting that on. And I thought I'll just put enough so that the brush marks disappear. I bought the kind of brush they suggested. I tried to do it thin. It made brush marks. And you know, and then I'm like, well, okay, it says to do more than one coat. So I did another coat, which evened out the brush strokes some, but I just didn't like it at all. You really didn't. I just didn't like it at all. You could see his brush strokes. So then I sanded it with about 10 different grades of sandpaper, hand sanded, because you got to go between the little ceramics. You really can't do much with a machine. I didn't want to wreck it, so I tend to go too hard. So yeah, so I just hand sand. I spent actually all morning doing that. Yeah, so that was most of the day today. And then I decided, well, you know what, now that it's sanded so well, I'm going to try that Minwax matte polyacrylic. But instead of using the brush they recommended, I'm going to use my silicone spreader that I use for epoxy, because that won't leave brush marks. So I tried that, but if that left. It wasn't brush marks, but I could not get it to smooth out. It just wasn't working. So I got out the mineral spirits, and I just took that layer off. It wasn't even dry yet. I'm just like, oh no, this is flop, 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 flop. Wiped all that off, and then I decided, okay, I'm going back to square one. And I'm going to put on the golden UV protectant matte spray that I didn't like the pebble finish of. And I'm just going to do extra coats. And I'm going to make sure I stand back so it doesn't get, it's probably too close with the little one and whatnot. Well, I didn't do a perfect job. It's good. About 3 or 4 coats on it. I'm calling it good. Now, that's just the problem with the surface. The edges were bad because of that first time the breach happened. And then I had to try to use a heat gun and pull that resin off. I mean, I don't even want to go into how bad that problem was. That was hours of extra work. And I got most of it off, but you know, it kind of messed up the frame a little bit. And you know, I'd already pre-painted it black, and so then I had to paint it black again. And then throughout these different things, every time I do one of these finishes, except for today, I didn't. Well, yeah, actually it did happen today, but not so much. But every time it would mess up one side or the other or whatever. Okay, another coat of black paint, another coat of black paint, another coat of... So, and then, you know, there was like little drips that show. I just didn't like it, so I bought, really, I'm glad I did. I bought black duct tape, and I taped it all the way around very carefully and cut it at the corners, and I folded it in, so they made a little bit nicer edging. And I don't know what the art gallery is going to think of it, but, you know, hey, it's my project. And then I put the paper on the back, which I had not cut the right size. And I had to sit there and trim. And this, I tell you, just trying to get it square is unbelievably more difficult than I ever expected. And I got that tape done. And so the only thing left to do is to get my drill out and install those little bracket things and then put the wire on. And I guess he's going. I honestly, even at noon, what time is it now? 3 o'clock. At noon, I was wondering if I ought to start framing something else. But I guess I like it in the end. It sure was really hard. Oh, and by the by the formulas for pricing, it'd probably go for around $2,000. But yeah, I don't think that's happening. But I'm going to price it nice and high because I think I kind of want to keep this after all that work, right?